There comes a time in a woman's life when she must stop apologizing for existing. A time when she must stop softening her voice so that others may not tremble in her presence. A time when she must stop folding herself into the corners of rooms, hoping someone will see her worth. There comes a sacred hour when she must rise, not as a fragile flower, but as a mountain, rooted, unmoving, unbreakable. That hour, my sisters, is now. Because the world has had its fill of women who bow, who beg, who whisper their truth behind trembling lips. The world is starving for women who stand unshaken, who speak even when their voice shakes, who know that gentleness does not mean weakness, and compassion does not mean surrender. You have been told that softness is your virtue. You have been told that to be kind is to be silent, to be loving is to be submissive, to be feminine is to be fragile. They told you that your worth lies in how much you can endure without complaint, how much you can give without receiving, how much you can love without being loved in return. But child, they lied. They lied to tame your fire. They lied so you would never know that beneath your delicate skin lives the thunder of creation itself. They lied because they feared what would happen if you ever looked in the mirror and saw your own power staring back. You have carried generations of silence inside your bones. You have inherited the quiet obedience of women who were told to stay small, to smile when they wanted to scream, to cook meals for men who never once fed their souls. You have been told to dim your light so that others would not feel overshadowed by your brilliance. But there is no honor in shrinking. There is no holiness in self-erasure. The world does not need another soft woman who swallows her pain and calls it peace. The world needs women who refuse to be defined by fear, who have the courage to be misunderstood, who would rather stand alone in truth than be loved in lies. Strength, my dear, does not mean hardness of heart. It means the courage to stand in the storm without losing your tenderness. It means having fire in your soul and calm in your spirit. It means knowing when to fight and when to walk away. It means that when life strikes you down, you rise again, not with bitterness, but with a new kind of grace that only pain can teach. To be strong is not to never fall. It is to rise every single time, to gather your scattered pieces and say, I am still here, and I am still enough. There will be days when your heart feels heavy, when love turns to loss, when faith trembles on the edge of despair. On those days, you will be tempted to retreat into softness, to hide behind comfort, to give the world only half of who you are. But strength is not born in ease. Diamonds are made under pressure. Gold is purified by fire. A strong woman is not born, she is forged. By heartbreak, by betrayal, by every no that tried to break her spirit and every tear that taught her how to see clearly. You cannot become fearless by living safely. You cannot become whole by staying hidden. There is a quiet kind of strength in the woman who knows herself. She does not chase approval. She does not beg to be chosen. She knows that her worth is not a matter of opinion, but a fact written by her Creator before time began. She does not fear the label of too much. She knows that the world calls women too much only when they begin to show how powerful enough truly looks. She walks into a room and the air changes, not because she is loud, but because she is certain. She carries herself with the dignity of someone who has met herself in the mirror and refused to look away. The soft woman fears rejection. The strong woman understands that rejection is redirection. The soft woman waits for someone to save her. The strong woman learns to save herself. The soft woman hides behind beauty. The strong woman knows her beauty is only the surface of her power. The soft woman asks for permission to exist. The strong woman takes up space and apologizes to no one. And yet, the strong woman is not without love. Her love is fierce, her compassion is deep, her loyalty is unshakable. But she gives it from abundance, not from emptiness. She no longer bleeds herself dry to fill others. She no longer says yes when her soul screams no. The world will test you. It will tell you to sit down when you stand tall. It will try to convince you that your independence is arrogance, your confidence is defiance, your courage is rebellion. But child, remember this: rebellion built the freedom you now walk in. Defiance carved the path your mothers could not travel. The courage of one woman has always been the spark that lights the way for thousands. When they call you fearless, smile. When they call you too strong, smile wider. When they call you difficult, thank them. For difficulty is the language of those who disturb the comfort of a weak world. There is no shame in your fire. You are not meant to be soft clay molded by every hand that touches you. You are meant to be the sculptor of your own life. You are meant to set boundaries so firm that only love, truth, and peace can cross them. You are meant to walk away from anyone who confuses your kindness for weakness. You are meant to protect your energy as though it were sacred, because it is. You are meant to look at the woman in the mirror and say, I will never again betray you for the comfort of others. For too long women have been told that strength is unbecoming. But strength, my dear, is the most beautiful garment a woman can wear. A fearless woman is not without fear. She has simply learned to dance with it. She has learned that courage is not the absence of trembling, but the decision to move anyway. She has learned that the most dangerous thing she can do is to wait for certainty, because life never guarantees safety. She has learned to trust her intuition, that quiet voice that whispers truth even when logic disagrees. Fearless women listen inward. They walk through fire because they know that every flame that tried to destroy them was only purifying their soul. You must stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be powerful. No one will hand it to you because power is not given, it is claimed. You must decide that you are enough. You must decide that you deserve better. You must decide that you will no longer negotiate your value in the marketplace of other people's opinions. You must decide to stop living as though you are fragile glass and start living as the unbreakable diamond that you are. Every time you stand firm in your truth, you are rewriting the story of what it means to be a woman. Every time you say no to disrespect, you teach the world how to treat you. Every time you choose yourself, you make it easier for another woman to do the same. You were not born to live small. You were born to roar. You were born to create, to lead, to speak, to stand tall. You were born with the same fire that moves the sun across the sky. You were born with the same strength that bends rivers into oceans. The softness they taught you to worship was only half of who you are. You are both storm and calm, both tenderness and thunder. You are both healer and warrior. There is power in your tears, but there is also power in your boundaries. There is beauty in your compassion, but there is equal beauty in your refusal to be mistreated. Do not let the world convince you that you must choose between love and strength. You can be both. You must be both. Remember the women who came before you, the ones who endured in silence so that you could speak. They prayed that their daughters would never have to shrink themselves to survive. They dreamed of the day when a woman could walk in her truth without fear. You are the answer to their prayers. You are their voice continued, their strength multiplied. When you stand tall, you honor them. When you refuse to be broken, you fulfill the dreams they carried in their tired hands. When you love yourself boldly, you heal generations. The world does not need more agreeable women. It needs women who ask hard questions, who refuse to settle, who challenge systems built to contain them. It needs women who lead not from ego, but from integrity. It needs women who can hold space for others without losing themselves. It needs women who can nurture and build, who can create peace but also protect it. You are that woman. You can hold a child in one arm and a revolution in the other. You can speak softly and still shake the ground beneath your feet. You can smile and still say no. You can be gentle and still be powerful. Do not let anyone convince you that softness is your only language. Life will test your strength again and again. You will meet people who will try to take advantage of your kindness, who will test the edges of your boundaries, who will see your empathy as opportunity. But every time that happens, remember, you are not obligated to remain soft in the face of cruelty. You can be graceful and firm. You can be kind and still walk away. You can forgive and still close the door. You can understand someone's pain without carrying it on your back. The woman who learns to do this becomes unstoppable, because she no longer allows her emotions to chain her. She allows them to guide her. Fearlessness is not a gift, it is a practice. It is built one choice at a time. Each time you speak truth instead of silence. Each time you take a step toward the unknown. Each time you refuse to let fear make your decisions. The The strong woman does not wait for courage to appear. She creates it. She breathes it into existence with every act of faith. She learns to say, even if my knees shake, I will walk. Even if my heart aches, I will rise. Even if I am afraid, I will not let fear be my master. And one day you will look back at the woman you once were, the one who said yes to everything, who apologized for her needs, who believed she had to earn love, and you will thank her, because she kept you alive long enough to meet the woman you are now, the one who knows her worth, the one who knows that being strong does not mean being cold, that being fearless does not mean being heartless. You will look at her and whisper, "You did not survive all that to remain soft." You will realize that every wound was a teacher, every betrayal a bridge, every heartbreak a purification. You will learn that peace is not found in avoiding conflict, but in standing in truth without trembling. You will learn that self-respect feels better than validation. You will learn that saying no to others is sometimes saying yes to yourself. You will learn that solitude is not loneliness, but the birthplace of strength. You will learn that fear can live in your heart and still not rule it. And when you learn these things, you will walk differently. Your steps will carry the rhythm of purpose. Your eyes will speak of survival. Your hands will create life where there was once pain. There is something sacred about a woman who has faced darkness and still chooses light. Something divine about a woman who has been broken but still loves deeply. Something eternal about a woman who can weep one night and build empires the next morning. She does not need permission to exist. She does not need applause to feel complete. Her power is self-sustaining, her energy self-renewing. She knows that the universe bends in favor of those who refuse to quit. So stop being soft in the places where you were meant to be steel. Stop saying yes when your spirit is shouting no. Stop giving chances to those who have proven they don't deserve them. Stop waiting for the world to understand you before you rise. Stop explaining yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop hiding your strength behind humility. Stop calling fear caution and doubt humility. Stop mistaking shrinking for peace. Stand tall even if your legs tremble. Speak even if your voice cracks. Walk forward even if the path is unknown. You have been gentle long enough. The time has come to be bold. You have been soft long enough. The time has come to be unshakable. You have been silent long enough. The time has come to roar. You were not put on this earth to be someone's option, someone's afterthought, someone's shadow. You were born to be the whole sun. You were born to take up space, to lead, to shine without asking for permission. You were born to be the woman who walks into the room and makes history breathe easier, because it knows it has found its next chapter. And when you rise, rise for every woman who could not. Rise for every girl who was told to stay quiet. Rise for every mother who sacrificed her dreams. Rise for every sister who never found her voice. Rise for yourself because you are worth rising for. Strength is not a crown they can take from you. It is a birthright they can never understand. Fearlessness is not a title. It is a way of living. Walk in it. Speak in it. Love in it. Let the world see what happens when a woman stops being soft and starts being whole. Strength is not the absence of softness, it is the mastery of it. There is a difference between the woman who kills her tenderness to appear powerful and the woman who learns to hold her softness with control and wisdom. True strength is not built by silencing the parts of yourself that feel deeply, but by learning to carry those feelings without drowning in them. The world teaches women to toughen up, to bury emotion under armor, to speak in tones that sound less human and more mechanical, as though compassion were a flaw. But a woman who has mastered her softness knows that her sensitivity is not weakness. It is intuition sharpened by empathy. She knows that her tears do not make her fragile, they make her real. She understands that she can be gentle and still be firm, that she can love deeply without being diminished by that love. Her strength lies in her balance, in her ability to stand in her truth without letting emotion cloud her purpose. The woman who masters her softness knows when to speak and when to stay silent, when to nurture and when to walk away. She has learned that not every battle requires a sword. Sometimes peace is the greater victory. But do not mistake her calm for passivity. Beneath her quiet grace is a will forged by struggle, a heart that has known pain yet refuses to close. She can listen without being controlled, forgive without being fooled, and love without losing herself. Her strength comes from knowing that power and peace are not enemies but partners. She is the woman who can comfort others while holding her own world together. She can stand in a storm with poise because she has mastered her inner weather. Softness is her art, but mastery is her discipline. It means she has learned to feel without being consumed, to care without collapsing, to hope without depending. Her softness is a tool, not a weakness. It allows her to see beyond anger, to find truth in chaos, to extend compassion even when it's undeserved, but never at the expense of her boundaries. The world may try to exploit her heart, but she has learned the difference between kindness and self-sacrifice. Her gentleness has edges now, sacred borders drawn by wisdom. She is not cold, but she is clear. She is not hard, but she is whole. She carries softness like silk over steel, graceful to the eye, unbreakable at the core. To master softness is to understand the rhythm of power. It is knowing that calmness disarms louder forces. It is choosing patience over rage, clarity over reaction, stillness over chaos. It is recognizing that strength does not need to roar. It can whisper and still move mountains. She does not shrink to be loved nor harden to be respected. She stands in the space between, where true womanhood resides, gentle enough to heal, strong enough to endure, wise enough to choose which part of herself to lead with each new dawn. Fearless women do not wait for approval. They walk in self-permission. There comes a moment when a woman must stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for truth. She learns that no one will ever fully understand her dreams, because they were not given to anyone else. She realizes that every time she waits for someone to agree, she delays her destiny. Approval is a chain disguised as comfort, and freedom begins the moment she no longer asks others to confirm her worth. A fearless woman listens to her own voice above the noise of the world. She trusts the quiet tug of intuition more than the loud opinions of those who have never walked her path. She does not ask, "Am I allowed?" She declares, "I am worthy." And that simple shift in belief transforms her from dependent to divine, from uncertain to unstoppable. She learns that fear often hides behind politeness, that many women stay silent not because they lack words, but because they fear being disliked. But to live for approval is to trade power for permission slips that never end. The fearless woman breaks that cycle. She knows that being misunderstood is the price of being original. She refuses to shape herself into something smaller, just to fit into the fragile comfort of others. When she stops waiting for applause, she begins to live honestly. When she stops explaining her choices, she begins to breathe freely. Her spirit expands in the space created by her own permission. Fearless women are not reckless, they are self-rooted. They make choices guided by truth, not fear of disapproval. They understand that people will judge whether they rise or fall, whether they speak or remain silent, whether they give or withhold. So they choose authenticity over acceptance. They realize that rejection from the wrong crowd is redirection toward the right purpose. When the world tells them to slow down, they learn to run faster. When the world doubts them, they let success speak quietly for them. They stop seeking validation from those who have never built anything and start honoring their own inner authority. To walk in self-permission is to move with quiet certainty, to trust that the same energy that created the universe also breathes through your veins. It is to act without waiting for perfect timing or perfect approval. It is to know that your dreams are divine instructions, not democratic decisions. It is to realize that freedom is a decision, not a gift. The fearless woman carries herself with dignity because she no longer needs confirmation to exist. She walks as one who knows that her yes to herself is more powerful than 1,000 no's from others. She listens to her intuition as if it were the voice of God. She builds her world on the foundation of self-trust. She does not beg for seats at tables where she was never meant to eat. She builds her own table and sits at it with peace. The world respects boundaries more than apologies. A woman who learns to draw lines around her peace becomes a force no one can manipulate. Too often, women are taught to be endlessly accommodating, to bend until they break, to believe that love means always saying yes. They apologize for taking up space, for needing rest, for wanting more than what they're given. But every time a woman says sorry for her needs, she teaches the world that her comfort is negotiable. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors with locks that only she controls. They protect her time, her energy, her heart. When she sets them firmly, the world begins to treat her differently. Not because it suddenly becomes kind, but because it finally meets resistance. A woman without boundaries becomes the world's convenience. She is always available, always reachable, always drained. But the woman who knows how to say no without guilt commands respect without asking for it. She no longer apologizes for protecting her peace, because peace is not a luxury, it is survival. The world may call her distant, cold, or difficult, but those words are often spoken by people who benefited from her lack of boundaries. The strong woman understands that saying no is not cruelty, it is clarity. She knows that her life cannot bloom in soil constantly trampled by others. So she guards her space not out of fear, but out of deep self-respect. Boundaries teach others how to treat her, but they also teach her how to treat herself. They remind her that her energy is sacred and her time is valuable. They help her choose who deserves access and who does not. Without boundaries, kindness turns into exhaustion, compassion turns into resentment, and love turns into self-neglect. With boundaries, she learns to give without losing herself. She learns that she can care deeply and still protect her peace. The world may resist her limits at first, but in time, it learns to respect what it cannot control. Apologies may earn temporary approval, but boundaries earn lasting respect. Every time she apologizes for existing, she gives the world permission to overlook her worth. But every time she stands firm in her truth, she silently teaches others that she is not here to please. She is here to live fully. A woman's boundaries are a reflection of her self-awareness. They show that she has outgrown the need to be liked by everyone. She understands that love without respect is hollow, that acceptance without boundaries is slavery. When she chooses boundaries over apologies, she chooses alignment over acceptance, authenticity over approval. The world eventually bows to the woman who no longer explains her worth. Because strength wrapped in grace, guarded by boundaries, is untouchable. A woman's silence should never be mistaken for surrender. Silence is not always the absence of power, often it is the birthplace of it. The quiet woman who listens, observes, and waits is not weak. She is gathering wisdom, conserving energy, and choosing her battles with precision. The world expects women to defend, to justify, to explain every decision and emotion. But silence, when chosen with intention, becomes a shield sharper than any argument. A woman who understands the strength of silence holds an invisible kind of authority. She no longer wastes her breath trying to prove her worth to those who have already decided not to see it. She no longer engages in wars of words with those who thrive on misunderstanding. Her silence is her strategy, her peace, her quiet declaration that she does not owe anyone a performance of her pain. She has learned that there is power in restraint, that the loudest one in the room is rarely the strongest. Her silence unsettles those who expect her submission. It confuses those who feed on reaction. It speaks volumes to those wise enough to listen. Silence can hold fury and grace in equal measure. It can be prayer, it can be protest, it can be the calm before transformation. The woman who knows when to speak and when to stay silent controls the rhythm of her own power. She does not allow noise to drag her into chaos. She knows her silence is not emptiness. It is a statement of control. There was a time when her silence was forced, when it was born of fear, when her voice was buried under the weight of judgment. But now her silence is chosen. It is no longer the silence of submission. It is the silence of sovereignty. It is her way of saying, I am not here to convince, I am here to live. She understands that not every injustice deserves her reaction, not every insult deserves her explanation. She saves her words for places where they will grow, for hearts that can receive them, for moments that demand them. She speaks with purpose, not impulse. A woman who knows the value of her voice also knows the value of her silence. She does not rush to prove innocence or chase validation. She trusts that time reveals truth better than words ever could. She knows that silence can protect her peace in ways that arguments never can. The world might call her detached or arrogant, but she is simply guarding her energy, mastering her emotions, keeping her dignity intact. Silence becomes her armor and her art. When she finally chooses to speak, her words carry the weight of discipline, not desperation. Her voice, sharpened by silence, cuts through pretense like lightning. And those who once mistook her quiet for weakness soon learn that a calm woman is not conquered. She is calculating. True power begins the moment she decides she is enough. There is a kind of liberation that comes when a woman stops waiting for the world to tell her she is worthy. From childhood, she is taught to earn love, to achieve validation, to seek permission before believing in herself. She is told she must look a certain way, speak a certain way, live a certain way to deserve acceptance. But one day she looks in the mirror and realizes that the chase is endless, that the finish line of approval keeps moving, that the more she gives, the less she is seen. And in that moment of exhaustion she begins to awaken. She sees that the key to her freedom was never out there. It was in her decision to be whole as she is. When she whispers to herself, "I am enough," the world loses its power to define her. Power is not in perfection, it is in acceptance. A woman who decides she is enough stops apologizing for being different. She no longer compares her path to anyone else's. She stops measuring her worth by timelines, beauty standards, or applause. She knows that confidence is not arrogance, it is alignment. She understands that being enough does not mean she has everything. It means she has herself. She begins to trust her instincts, to honor her emotions, to speak without fear of disapproval. She becomes grounded in her truth, and that grounding makes her unshakable. People can criticize her, misunderstand her, even abandon her, but she no longer collapses under the weight of their opinions. Her self-worth becomes her foundation. When a woman realizes she is enough, her energy changes. She stops chasing, and everything begins to flow toward her. She becomes magnetic, not because she tries to impress, but because she radiates certainty. She no longer seeks love from those who drain her. She attracts love that mirrors her peace. She no longer performs for attention. She commands respect through authenticity. Her power is quiet but undeniable. It is not in dominance but in self-possession. It is not in loudness but in calm assurance. She no longer needs to prove herself because her existence is proof enough. Every woman carries this power inside her, but it lies dormant beneath layers of doubt and expectation. The moment she decides to remove those layers, she rediscovers her essence. She realizes that she was never broken, only buried. She stops editing herself to fit into rooms that cannot hold her truth. She stops settling for half love and half life. She begins to walk differently, stand differently, breathe differently. Because when a woman finally believes she is enough, she becomes unstoppable. She no longer waits for validation from lovers, family, or society. She becomes her own authority, her own comfort, her own source of peace. And in that moment, the world shifts around her, bowing to the quiet power of a woman who has decided to belong fully to herself. Compassion without self-respect becomes captivity. A woman's heart is her greatest gift, but when it gives without discernment, it becomes her greatest wound. The world often praises her for her selflessness, for her ability to forgive endlessly, to love those who hurt her, to carry burdens that were never hers to bear. But compassion, when unguarded, becomes a chain that ties her to pain. She learns too late that mercy without boundaries invites misuse. There is beauty in caring, but destruction in forgetting oneself in the process. True compassion is not the act of allowing others to drain your soul. It is the wisdom to love deeply while protecting your dignity. When she begins to honor herself, her compassion transforms from weakness into sacred power. She once believed that saying no was unkind, that walking away meant she lacked love. But over time, she realized that the purest love sometimes demands distance. She learns that to keep forgiving those who do not change is to betray her own spirit. Her heart is not a battlefield for those unwilling to find peace. Compassion without self-respect becomes a cycle where she gives, and they take, until there is nothing left of her but exhaustion. She begins to see that real kindness starts with herself. It means looking in the mirror and saying, "You deserve the same care you give others." It means knowing that empathy should not cost her sanity, that healing others should not wound her deeper. When she starts to set limits, some will call her selfish. They will say she has changed, that she has become distant or cold. But she has not grown cold, she has grown wise. She understands that love cannot flourish where respect does not exist. She no longer confuses compassion with tolerance of abuse. She no longer believes that saving others is her duty. She gives from fullness, not emptiness. Her love becomes discerning, her giving intentional. She listens to her intuition when it whispers that certain people only come to take. She trusts herself when her body tightens in the presence of those who drain her light. Compassion to her now means choosing peace even when it disappoints others. Self-respect becomes her compass. It guides her in every act of love, ensuring that her compassion heals rather than harms. She learns to forgive without reopening doors, to help without losing herself, to love without becoming a martyr. Her care becomes powerful because it is rooted in strength, not guilt. Her kindness carries weight because it comes from clarity, not obligation. When compassion and self-respect walk together, they create balance. Softness with strength, empathy with boundaries, love with dignity. The woman who understands this becomes unshakable. Her compassion no longer enslaves her, it frees her. Her love no longer diminishes her, it sustains her. Because she finally understands that her heart was never meant to be a cage for pain, but a temple for peace.